Let me ask you something before we even begin. Why is it that two people can start in the exact same place, with the exact same opportunities, and 20 years later, one of them is living the life they dreamed of, and the other is still wondering what happened? Same town, same schools, sometimes even the same family, and yet their lives turned out completely different. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to understand exactly why that happens, and more importantly, you are going to understand what to do about it starting today. Here is what most people do not understand. Getting what you want in life is not about luck. It is not about being born in the right family or knowing the right people. It is not about timing. There is a set of laws, quiet laws, that govern whether a person ends up with the life they wanted or the life they settled for. And the strange part is, these laws work whether you know about them or not, whether you believe in them or not. They are working on your life right now, this very moment, while you listen to these words. Let me tell you something about seeds. If a farmer takes a handful of corn seed and throws it into poor soil, neglects it, never waters it, never protects it from the weeds, what happens? Nothing good happens. The seed does not feel sorry for him. The seed does not work harder because he is having a bad year. The seed simply does what seeds do. It reflects back exactly what was put into the ground. Now, take that same seed, the same exact seed, and place it in fertile soil, tended with care, watered consistently, protected through every season. That seed will produce a harvest beyond what the farmer could even imagine. Here is the lesson. Your life is the soil. Your habits, your thoughts, your daily choices, these are the seeds. And whatever you plant consistently, over time, that is exactly what you will harvest. Not what you wish for, not what you hope for, what you actually plant. Think about it. How many people are out there wishing for a harvest they never planted seeds for? Now let us talk about desire, because this is where it all begins, and this is where most people get stuck before they even start. Somebody once said to me, "I want to be successful." And I asked them, "What does that mean? What does success look like to you?" And they could not answer. They had a feeling, a vague hope, but no picture. My friend, a vague desire produces vague results. A vague desire produces no results at all. But I knew another person who said, "I want to own a home with a garden where my children can play. I want to take my parents on one trip before they grow too old to travel. I want to walk into a room and know that I built something with my own two hands." Do you see the difference? One person has a wish. The other person has a picture, so clear they could almost touch it. And the mind, my friend, the mind moves toward what it can clearly see. Here is what most people do not understand about wanting something. Wanting is not weakness. Wanting is the beginning of all human achievement. Every building you have ever walked into started as someone's want. Every road you have ever driven on started as someone's want. The problem is never that people want too much. The problem is that people stop themselves from wanting clearly, because somewhere along the way somebody told them to be realistic, to lower their expectations, to be grateful for less. Let me tell you something. There is nothing wrong with being grateful. Gratitude is powerful, and we will talk about that. But gratitude for what you have should never be used as an excuse to stop reaching for what you are capable of becoming. You can be thankful and hungry at the same time. You can appreciate the chapter you are in and still want to write the next one. Now here comes the part that separates the people who get what they want from the people who do not. It is not desire alone. Desire gets you started, but desire alone has never built anything. What happens next is the real test. The moment you realize this, your whole approach to life changes. Everything in this life has a price. Everything. Health has a price. Wealth has a price. A strong marriage has a price. Peace of mind has a price. And here is the secret most people miss. The price always has to be paid in advance. You cannot enjoy the rewards first and pay later. Life simply does not work that way, no matter how badly we wish it would. I once knew two young men who started working at the same company on the same day. Same wage, same opportunity. One of them came in early, stayed a little later, read books on his lunch break, asked questions, learned the business inside and out. The other one did exactly what was required, nothing more, and complained that the job was not paying him enough for what he was already doing. 5 years later, one of them was running a department. The other one was still waiting for someone to notice him. Here is the lesson in this. The first man was not paying for the job he had. He was paying for the job he wanted next. He understood something the other man did not. You must become before you receive. You must build the person capable of holding the success before the success arrives, or it will not stay even if it shows up by accident. Let me say that again because it matters. If you are not the kind of person who can hold on to something, life can hand it to you anyway, and you will lose it. This is why some people win money and lose it all within a few years. This is why some people land the opportunity of a lifetime and watch it slip through their fingers. It was never about the money or the opportunity. It was about who they had become on the inside before it arrived. So the real question is not, what do you want? The real question is, who do you need to become to deserve it, to hold it, to grow it? And that, my friend, is where discipline enters the picture. Discipline is the bridge between what you want and what you actually accomplish. Without it, your goals are nothing but wishes floating in the wind. I am not talking about discipline as punishment. I am talking about discipline as the highest form of self-respect. It says, I respect my future enough to do something today that my future self will thank me for. Here is what most people do not understand about discipline. It is never the big dramatic moments that determine your life. It is the small disciplines repeated every single day that quietly become who you are. The extra hour of reading, the walk you took even though you did not feel like it, the hard conversation you had instead of avoiding it, the dollar you saved instead of spent. None of these moments feel significant on their own, but stack them up over a year, over 5 years, over 10 years, and they become the entire story of your life. This is what I call the slow build, and it is the most important principle you will ever learn because almost nobody respects it. We live in a world that wants results overnight, but life was never designed to work that way. Think about a bamboo tree. For the first 4 years after it is planted, you see almost nothing happening above the ground. Just a small shoot, barely growing, season after season. People walk by and assume it is failing. But underground, that bamboo is building a root system so vast and so deep that in the 5th year, it shoots up nearly 90 feet in just 6 weeks. That bamboo was never failing. It was preparing. And here is the painful truth, my friend. Most people give up during the root building years. They quit during year 2 or year 3, right when the foundation is almost strong enough to support everything they have been dreaming about. They never get to see their 90 feet because they walked away before the roots were finished. One day you will look back and understand that the years which felt the slowest, the most frustrating, the most invisible, were actually the years that made everything afterward possible. Nothing was wasted. The harvest was simply waiting on the roots. Now let me talk to you about something that is uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary if you want to get what you want in life: responsibility. Here is what most people do not understand. Until you accept full responsibility for your life, exactly as it is right now, you give away your power to change it. I am not talking about blame. I am not asking you to feel guilty about your past. What I am asking is this: stop handing the steering wheel of your life to your circumstances. Stop letting your past decide your future. Your parents, your upbringing, your mistakes, your bad luck, none of that gets to be the final word on who you become from this point forward. I have seen people born into nothing build extraordinary lives. And I have seen people born into everything waste it completely. The difference was never the starting point. The difference was always what they decided to do with what they were given. You cannot always choose your beginning, but you absolutely choose your direction. Here is a question worth sitting with tonight. If your life stayed exactly the way it is right now for the next 10 years, would that excite you or would it terrify you? Because whichever answer came to your mind just now, that is information. That is your own heart telling you something important. Let us talk about the people around you, because this matters more than most people realize. You become the average of the conversations you have most often. If you spend your days surrounded by people who complain, who settle, who mock anyone trying to grow, you will slowly absorb that energy without even noticing it happening. I am not telling you to abandon people. I am telling you to be conscious. Pay attention to who challenges you to grow and who quietly convinces you to stay small. The right people in your life will not always tell you what you want to hear, but they will always want what is genuinely best for you. The wrong people will agree with everything you say while slowly keeping you exactly where you are. Here is what most people do not understand about growth. It is rarely comfortable, and it is almost never convenient. Growth asks you to leave behind versions of yourself that used to feel safe. It asks you to disappoint people who only love the smaller version of you. This is hard. This is real. But it is also the price of becoming who you were capable of being all along. Let me talk to you about fear for a moment, because fear is the silent reason most people never even attempt the life they secretly want. Fear of failing in front of others. Fear of trying and discovering you are not as capable as you hoped. Fear of succeeding and then having to live up to it. Here is what most people do not understand about fear. It never actually goes away once you become successful. It simply changes its address. The person who built a business still feels fear, just a different fear than the one who never tried. The difference is one person let fear stop them, and the other person let fear walk beside them while they kept moving forward anyway. Courage was never the absence of fear. Courage was always fear, fully present, taking the next step regardless. I have never met a single person who achieved something meaningful and told me they felt zero fear along the way. What they told me instead was that they decided the cost of staying the same had finally become more painful than the fear of moving forward. That is the turning point, not the disappearance of fear, but the moment the pain of staying still becomes heavier than the fear of moving. Think about the size of the goals you have quietly let go of over the years, not because they were impossible, but because the fear of starting felt larger than the comfort of staying exactly where you were. My friend, comfort is the most expensive thing you will ever purchase, because you pay for it with your potential, and that bill comes due for the rest of your life, often disguised as regret. Now let me talk to you about time, because time is the one resource in this entire conversation that is not negotiable. You cannot earn more of it. You cannot borrow it from tomorrow. You cannot save it up like money in an account. Every single human being alive, no matter how wealthy or how poor, receives the exact same 24 hours. The only variable, the only thing that separates one life from another, is what each person does with those hours. Here is what most people do not understand about time. It does not feel urgent until it is gone. While you have it, it feels like an unlimited resource, something you can always make up for later. But later is not a real place. Later is simply a word we use to feel comfortable about delaying the decision we already know we need to make today. The work you keep postponing for later is quietly being paid for by your future, whether you acknowledge it or not. I want you to imagine for a moment a much older version of yourself looking back at this exact day, not with judgment, but with honesty. What would that version of you want you to do right now? What habit would they beg you to start? What fear would they beg you to walk through? That older, wiser version of you already knows the answer, because they are the one who eventually lived with the results of what you decide today. Let me tell you about patience now, because this is where so many good people lose their way, right before they were about to win. There is a moment right before the breakthrough when everything feels like it is falling apart, when nothing seems to be working, when the evidence in front of you suggests you should quit. This moment is not a sign that you are failing. This moment is almost always a sign that you are close. Think about water and ice. Water freezes at exactly 32 degrees. Not 33, not 34. At 33 degrees, it is still just cold water. Nothing visible is happening. But 1 single degree later, everything transforms. The work being done at 33 degrees was not wasted, even though nothing was visible yet. It was necessary. It was the final preparation before the transformation. Most people quit at 33 degrees because they cannot see the ice forming. They have no proof. All they have is the discomfort of almost. How many dreams in this world died at 33 degrees? How many businesses closed 1 year before they would have turned profitable? How many relationships ended one honest conversation away from healing? How many people gave up on themselves one final attempt away from the breakthrough they had been working toward for years? This should break your heart a little, and it should also light a fire in you, because you get to decide right now that you will not be one of those stories. Now let me bring all of this together, because there is one final piece, and it is perhaps the most powerful one: decision. A real decision, not a wish, not a hope, but a true decision is one of the most powerful forces a human being possesses. The moment you truly decide something, your brain begins working on it, whether you are actively thinking about it or not. Opportunities you never noticed before suddenly appear. Conversations that seemed irrelevant suddenly connect. This is not magic. This is what happens when a human being finally gets clear and finally commits. Most people live their entire lives leaning toward what they want, instead of deciding for it. Leaning is comfortable because it requires no real commitment, and therefore it carries no real risk of failure. But it also guarantees no real result. Deciding is different. Deciding closes the door behind you. Deciding says, I am no longer entertaining the option of staying the same. Here is what most people do not understand about the moment of decision. It does not feel dramatic from the outside. Nobody else may even notice it happened. It often happens quietly, maybe at the end of a long day, maybe in a moment of exhaustion, maybe right here, right now, as you are listening to this. But from the inside, everything shifts. The direction of your entire life can change in a single quiet decision that nobody else even witnesses. So let me ask you the question underneath every word I have spoken to you today. What do you actually want? Not what sounds impressive, not what other people expect of you. What do you, in the most honest part of yourself, actually want your life to look like? Get specific, see it clearly. Then ask yourself the harder question: what price are you willing to pay for it? And are you willing to start paying that price today, before you feel ready, before the conditions are perfect, before anyone notices? Because here is the truth, my friend. Conditions are never going to be perfect. There will never be a year that has no challenges in it. There will never be a version of you that feels fully ready. The people who get what they want in life are not the people who waited for certainty. They are the people who decided anyway, who planted their seeds in imperfect soil, who kept building their roots through the years nobody was watching, who paid the price in advance, who stayed past 33 degrees when everyone else gave up. One day you will look back on this exact season of your life. You will either look back and say, that was the season I finally decided. The season everything changed because I stopped waiting and started building. Or you will look back and say, that was another year I let pass by, hoping things would somehow be different without anything in me actually changing. Both of those futures are sitting in front of you right now, today, and the only thing that determines which one becomes real is the decision you make after these words end. You already have everything you need to begin, not everything you need to finish. Nobody starts with that, but everything you need to take the first honest step. The picture in your mind of the life you want, that was placed there for a reason. It was not given to you to torment you. It was given to you because somewhere inside you, there is the capacity to build it. So here's what I want you to do. Stop waiting for the feeling of being ready, because that feeling rarely arrives before the action. It almost always arrives after it. Get painfully specific about what you want. Decide what price you are willing to pay, and start paying it today, in some small way, right now, before you close this out and return to everything that has been comfortable. Plant a seed today that your future self will thank you for. Choose one small discipline and protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. You were not made to live a vague, average, half-lived life. You were made for something with weight to it, something that matters, something that when you finally arrive there will make every difficult season along the way feel completely worth it. The harvest is real. The roots are building, even on the days you cannot see them. The ice is forming, even at 33 degrees. Make the decision today, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when you feel ready, today. Because the life you want is not waiting somewhere out there for the right circumstances to deliver it to you. It is waiting on the other side of a decision only you can make. Somewhere out there, a future version of you is already living the life you have been quietly dreaming about. And they are looking back at this exact moment, hoping you finally say yes to yourself. Do not make them wait any longer. Make the decision now, and one day you will look back at this very moment as the day everything finally began to change.